Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 3 and the final part of the Q&As today, so let's get to that first question. Alright. Hey Jason, I really like the idea of training the deadlift and press with 7 to 10 sets of 3. What is the best way to go about to program the front squats and close grip bench press while I only can and want to train twice a week? All right, brother, that's going to be kind of a tall order, isn't it? It's going to be a tall order because you want to do 7 to 10 sets of 3 on 4 big compounds spread over 2 days. Simple enough. What I'm going to recommend is your first workout, go ahead and do the closed grip bench and the deadlift. However, I'm going to say do the closed grip bench before the deadlift. Now, some people are going to go, what? Why? Won't that interfere? Not necessarily. Not necessarily at all. The reason for that is that many powerlifters are used to doing that since we have to train that way. Well, I'm a former powerlifter. We have to train that way for meets, really, to be ready to deadlift after. And I can tell you, as someone who has messed with different rotations, bench press doesn't seem to take anything out of my deadlift. And in most athletes, it's squatting first. It seems to be the most fatiguing. So bench before you deadlift, and that way you're not so fatigued from the deadlift that you can't actually bench press, whereas it usually be the other way around. Usually it can be very difficult if you do that many sets of deadlift. You're going to be floored. That's going to be the end of your workout. You're not going to want to do anything else. So do the bench press first, and it doesn't use the actual muscles in the deadlift, so it's going to be okay. Workout B, I'm going to say reverse it. The reason for that, your lower back getting fatigued from the standing press, right, the overhead press, that can cause problems with your squat. All right. So accordingly, I'm going to say go ahead and front squat and then do your overhead press. Now, what I am also going to say, these two workouts are going to be absolutely exhausting. And I understand you say you only want to and can only train twice a week, but you do need to realize you are going to be pretty well beat up after any such workout. The way you're doing it, it is going to be extremely fatiguing. Even though you're only training twice a week, you're going to have to pay attention to your fatigue management. Again, make sure you get a lot of food after. Make sure you get a good night's sleep on those training days. You're going to need it. All right, next question. Hi, Jason. Just like there's a natural genetic muscle limit, at some point we all have to come to terms with it where we make very, very little to no gains after more than 10 years of training. Does the same principle apply to strength when you get to a point where you go this as strong as I can get without hurting yourself? If both go hand in hand. Thank you. Question's a little confusing, but I do see what you're asking. You're wanting to know, because there's a point of diminished returns with lifting, as the same apply to strength? Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't it? Most of your strength comes from your muscle gains anyways. Not saying that there can't be strength gains outside of your muscle gains or that it's going to be proportionate, because that's not true. But you have to understand any strength gains that you gain, the majority of it's going to be from hypertrophy. And the other thing to consider is not that your gains stop. Not that your gains stop. It's that they're diminished. Expect to gain about half the gains you gained the year before. Now, that being said, of course you can keep getting stronger up till the point to where your hormones and recovery affect it. In other words, you might train all through your teens and get to 30 and hit your muscular peak at 30, and when you turn 40 or 45, it starts going downhill even when you try to train the same. All right, that happens, especially if you're not on any TRT or anything like that. You are not going to have the muscle you had at 30 at 45. You're not, even if you maintain the exact training, if you had peaked by 30. But that's, again, hormonal and recovery in nature. When we're talking about starting younger and the nonlinear gains that you're going to have, it's going to be diminished returns. You're going to keep making them. Well, the same will apply to your strength. The only exception would be someone who hasn't trained for strength, who trained purely for hypertrophy. They can make better neural gains for a little while, but not indefinitely. Not indefinitely. So expect the same structure, but you know what? That's still a good thing, because at the end of the day, if you, okay, I can put 5 pounds on my bench press. I can put 5 pounds on my squat this year. You've been training a decade or more. Well, that's still progress, isn't it? That's still progress, and as long as you train smart and pay attention to a lot of things, you're not going to get hurt by doing that. But you can keep making progress. Absolutely. Just understand that it is going to be very, very slow at that point, just like your muscle gains are. It's going to be slow, but it doesn't become non-existent. It's going to be nothing like what you experienced the decade before. In other words, that first year of training, you probably made more gains than you're going to make from year 10 up to year 20. Those 10 years there is probably going to be less muscle and strength than you gained in your first year as a noob. But that's okay. Put 5 pounds on your squat, that's 5 pounds on your squat. It's 5 pounds better than you were. So look at it from that perspective. All right, next question. Jason, talk about bench press bar path. When I used to powerlift, my coach always taught me to press the bar straight up using the cue, push the bar away from you. This also feels more natural to me. Most coaches, however, advocate pressing the bar slightly backward towards the J-hooks. I've tried this, but I find it awkward and hard on my shoulders. Please give your humble opinion. Thank you. My opinion, I think you need to find out, are these coaches coaching equipped lifters, or are they coaching raw lifters? I'm going to say as a raw lifter, you really need to focus on speed off the chest and pushing the bar away from you. Let the bar find its strongest bar path, which more often than not is going to be a bit of an S shape, but it is going to be more or less straight up. All right, it's going to be more or less straight up. When you start getting into these unusual bar paths other guys talk about, it's usually with a bench press shirt on. And a lot of coaches who coach people equipped don't always think about the fact that it might not be perfect for a raw lifter, because that's what they focus on. They focus on equipped and becoming the best possible equipped. Don't get the two confused. And that could even apply to certain YouTube channels out there that focus on that. Just put that in perspective. All right, next question. Do you think swimming will kill my strength gains? Should I do some other form of cardio? No, why would swimming kill your strength gains? It's like I've talked to you guys a lot in the past. I have countless videos discussing how in the long term cardio done correctly can enhance your strength gains. Swimming is a fantastic form of cardio. Swimming is a fantastic form of just general fitness training. I mean, swimming is almost GPP work in its own right. No, swimming is great. In fact, if you've got a good place to swim, to where you can swim without problems for any sort of distance, I'd say you enjoy doing it, by all means do so. No, it's a fantastic form of cardio. I'm not even sure why this is even coming up. If someone told you, hey, don't swim, it'll kill your strength gains, don't listen to them. It's perfectly fine. Swim. Once you're adapted to the workload of swimming, it will not interfere at all with your strength gains, and in the long term, it will enhance them because of the better overall recovery. Again, depends on what sort of swimming you're doing. If you're doing really high intensity, super fast swimming, okay, could be an issue. But if you're just doing laps for 30 minutes or an hour, no, that's fantastic. That's not going to hurt your gains at all. Stop listening to these people. All right, next question and last question of the week. If you were going to do a bro split, what's the best way to make it work? Simple, 2 grams of test and growth hormone. Now, I'm assuming you wanted a more serious answer than that, but that is the answer. Bro splits were developed for guys who use those sort of drug stacks. Now, that being said, that's the best way you could run it, right? If you were going to do it. But that aside, the joking and the being condescending aside, if you decide for whatever reason you want to train on a body part split, which means you have a leg day, a chest day, an arm day, all that nonsense, however you want to break it up. Focus on progressive overload and big barbell movements. The bigger the compound movements you do the majority of your work, the more it takes out the negatives of the bro split. In other words, if 50% or more of your leg day is barbell squats, that's almost a full body day, right? If at least half your work on your back day is a deadlift, that's not really a back day, is it? It works a lot of muscles. Don't do stupid rack pulls. Don't do crap like that. Shoulder day, do a bunch of standing presses or push presses. There you go. It's not really a bro split anymore at that point, is it? You're just having days where you focus on certain body parts a little more than others as an organizational pattern. That takes a lot of the negatives as far as protein synthesis out and turn it more into specialization. Focus on the big movements primarily. At least 80% of your work, big big movements, not something where you go, oh man, I need to focus on my chest. I need to do this seated delt press to focus more. No, get up on your feet and stand. Stuff like that is how you turn a bro split into something that actually overlaps better for people not on a bunch of drugs. You'll get more out of it. The other thing, make sure that you focus on progressive overload. Ultimately, like with any other training style, we could argue total muscle and protein synthesis uptime growth rates might be slower than a higher frequency style of training. All right, arguable, but that's generally what your data is going to show. Doesn't mean you can't make good gains though. Focus on progressive overload and you'll grow. You'll still grow decently fast. Big movements, progressive overload. Not doing stupid fluff exercises, because on most bro splits you're in the gym quite a few days a week. Don't spend too much time doing silly fluff. Don't do too much silly fluff where you worry so much about squeezing and contracting one muscle with 5 different isolation movements, and you'll probably be okay. That's how I'd recommend doing it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.